Now, I don't want to say at this point that I have perfect or the best morals. I know what morals are important to have. In other words, values, uh, intimate values. It's important. I would suggest that it's important that we realize and understand that God has given us a power to create life. God has given us intimacy to get close to each other, male and female, husband and wife, duly, lawfully wedded and married. And I'm a firm believer that people should be married, and that they should people should get married and stay married, and unless there's abuse, addiction, or adultery, but to stay together and have children and teach the children to have good values, good moral values, having intimacy, intimate relations only after you're married. And then because God has given us the power to create, male and female to create, He's given us this power, and so it's important to use it in a respectful way. And then I also believe that it's important to be modestly dressed. I work with lots of different people, and it's a lot easier to be around people when they're modestly dressed, and it's easier on our brains when people are modestly dressed, and it's more difficult if they're not. So be respectful. Women, be respectful of men. Be kind and respectful to them, and make them be respectful of you. And men, my sons, my grandsons, treat women with honor and respect, kindness, and don't have intimate relations before you get married. I'm not saying that you don't hold their hand or give them a kiss or give them a hug and cuddle with them, but when you get to the point where you're French kissing, you know that's sex-like, and so I would highly advise you stay away from that. I would also encourage you to never live with anyone before you get married. There's a big push and a big emphasis in society to go live with people before you get married to them, and that causes it feels like to me that it's more using each other than it is actually being respectful of each other. Different societies have different rules and so forth, but my belief is it's important to get married, stay married, and have intimate relationships within marriage, because that's where you have the power to create children. And so when people go out and they just simply have recreational sex and they create children, these children are either may be neglected. They may not be neglected, but they may be neglected. They may be aborted. They may be hurt. They may have to be adopted. We've gone through that in our family, which is a sacred, special thing. Adoption is a wonderful, 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 amazing principle, and I think it's a true principle. Adoption is very, very important. Adoption is much better than abortion and some other things that occur. But I love open adoption if it's safe, to the families involved and the children involved. I love that. I love that ability to have an open adoption. But if you'll be moral and not, plus sex can be dangerous. There's all kinds of diseases you can get from it. Am I fully moral in my mind? No, I struggle every day with those type of thoughts. But if you will hold your body and your private parts sacred until marriage, and then when you're married, it is a wonderful, awesome, wonderful, beautiful thing to have intimate relationships. It's a glue that intimacy is the glue that holds couples together and families together. We can be intimate with our children too by being kind and gentle and loving and affectionate in an appropriate way, by giving them hugs and appropriate kisses on the cheek or forehead, appropriate pats on the back or on the shoulder, or wrestling with my sons. That's how I typically would give appropriate intimacy or contact, appropriate touch to my children as they were growing up. When they were in their teenage years, they didn't want to, of course, do a lot of hugging, so I would pat them on the back or rub their shoulders or something like that. That's something that was appropriate. But once again, intimacy and appropriate touch and is critical for good relationships within marriage and within a marital relationship. So, in summary, it's important, it's critical to not use other people by having recreational, reckless sex, or intimacy, reckless intimacy, by taking advantage of others when we're not married, and being appropriate with them and kind and loving and respectful with them, and using the power of creation and the power of intimacy, that which God has given us, to create children, to house those children with spirits from our Heavenly Father's presence. It's critical to me that we combat the difficulty in our society, or the hailstorm in our society of reckless recreational sex, pornography, things like that. Also to manage and control our thoughts to where we behave appropriately that way. We live in a difficult time right now. You know, I think it's approximately the 3rd of January. I'm finishing this video up because it cut off on me the other day, but I want my children and grandchildren to know, and my great-grandchildren to know, that it's important to stand for good morality and good values, that we are respectful of one another in societies, because the more respectful we are, the more successful we will have, more respectful our marriages will be, and our families will be, and our society will be. Once again, we're free to choose whatever behavior we would like, but we're not free to choose the consequences of that behavior. Oftentimes bad behavior comes back to haunt you, so it's really critical and really important that you behave in a respectful way with others.